Hello and welcome to another episode of the Just Talking About Films podcast, where Luke and I get together and we just talk about films. So my name is Ian Sarginson.
And my name's Luke Taylor, and it is great to be back just talking about films, catching up with what we've seen and sharing some opinions on some films that we have seen. Opinions that might vary, but we don't pretend to be film snobs. We're just people who enjoy films. And I think today we hadn't pre-discussed this, but our we could go down the Home Sweet Home Alone route and give our opinions on that one.
Yeah, definitely. The other week I was quite agitated and animated about the idea of the film being made, and since then you come back to me and said, "Oh, it's not that bad," and I watched it for myself yesterday, and I'm quite keen to air my thoughts on that.
So we'll spend a bit of time. Maybe we'll take that bit of the film and we'll move that to a little bit later, and we'll really dig into that one.
Yeah, so there will be spoilers in what I'm saying, but if you're bothered about spoilers about Home Sweet Home Alone, then I don't know. I'll pray for you.
You need to get out more.
Yeah, but there will be spoilers. So if you're yet to watch it and you really care about the film being spoiled for you with some of the really deep and complex plot, then maybe skip the part where
big character developments there. I tell you, yeah.
So Luke, tell me about what you've been watching this week.
Okay, this week it's a bit more than a week because it's a bit more than a week since we last met, and there's a few films I watched this week. We're going to come back to it another time.
Yeah.
But the first thing I watched was Locked Down.
Down.
It was a film made during the pandemic. Starring Anne Hathaway.
Yeah.
Chiwetel Ejiofor, and it's directed by. See, this is the reason I watched it. It's directed by Doug Liman, who did some great films. He did Edge of Tomorrow, which was a brilliant film. So this was all recorded during lockdown, about lockdown, and it's kind of a heist film trying to steal a diamond from Harrods. And it felt longer than lockdown felt. It was it's the most boring thing I think I've ever seen.
Yeah, I mean, I can't remember if it was Graham Norton or Jonathan Ross or something, the Anne Hathaway, and who was the male lead?
Chiwetel Ejiofor. I can't pronounce it very well.
Yeah, but I'd seen them on it promoting it, or it might have been this morning or something.
Yeah.
And because I was quite interested, as you say, because of the director, because of the two leads, but it sounded awful.
It was. It really was. It's so over. It's like watching, like when you remember when you were at college and you went to see a school, like a college play, not a school play, but a college play where everybody was really into it, but as a result, it was just incredibly dense and boring. It feels like it's very odd. And aside from the fact that nobody really wants to experience the whole lockdown feeling again anyway,
no,
it didn't need to be as boring as it was. There was potential to have some fun, and dear me, even the heist was boring. If you've not seen it, can I recommend? Don't touch it. Just don't go anywhere near it. Even during the pandemic, when you had nothing else to do and you were locked down, you'd have been able to find something better to do than watch this film.
Glowing endorsement from Luke there.
Then we watched Those Who Wish Me Dead. Again, we saw that. That was the first film we went to see at the cinema when the cinemas reopened. With Angelina Jolie as a firefighter or fire warden.
Yeah.
And a young boy running from criminals. You've seen that, haven't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good fun. I enjoyed it just as much second time. It loses something on the small screen. It shows why the big screen's better. But thoroughly enjoyed that. Then we watched a documentary called "'Twas the Fight Before Christmas." Just came on Apple TV. About it sounds like a pitch for that film Deck the Halls.
Yeah,
where they're fighting over the Christmas lights. It sounds like it's going to be like that, And it's this guy who wants to do this big Christmas light thing, and it turns into this. He's moving to a new house, and he says to the community, it's like a gated community, and I'm going to be doing this. I'm going to be and essentially, if you don't let me, I'll sue. And so they say no. But then he turns it into a persecution. You're persecuting me because of my faith, kind of thing. And
what faith does he have?
He's Christian, but
them again.
Their letter that they sent back is basically like, essentially they just didn't want all of these, hundreds, because they saw videos of what had happened in the previous ones he'd done. They didn't want hundreds and hundreds of people turning up in their street. So in their letter they say, we don't really want. Plus, as well, there's people who live here who don't have a faith, and we don't want to offend them. But they kind of just put that in there as a sort of but that became the whole thing, and he sued them, and then they sued. But nobody comes off well on it. Nobody. But it was one of those stories that you start watching it and you just get sucked in by how awful everybody is to each other.
Yeah, that's the thing. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I don't know. I don't want to get into it now, but if you're a Christian and you say, I want to do this, if you don't let me, I'm going to sue you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a great way of showing love, is it? And
no.
I mean, don't get into it and say this is not what we're here for. There's Bible verses that probably tell you shouldn't do that.
Yes, I mean, especially to another Christian, you shouldn't be doing that. And one of the guys that he's suing is a pastor of a church and saying he's persecuting him for his faith. And anyway, it gets nasty, but it's fascinating to watch.
It's American, right?
Oh yeah, it's American. Yeah. It just escalates and escalates. So it's a good watch though. It's well made, and I'm amazed anybody who took part in it because nobody comes off well.
Might have a look at that just for a giggle.
And then we put our Christmas decorations up this week. So as we traditionally do, every time we put our Christmas decorations up, we watch Christmas with the Cranks.
Christmas with the Cranks.
I don't know why, because it's not great.
Is that the one where they're going to go on a cruise?
Yeah, they decide they're going to skip Christmas this year, go on a cruise instead, because the daughter's gone join the Peace Corps. And, it's better than sitting at home. It's one of those films that gets me so annoyed, because I totally see where he's coming from. And everybody's so awful to him about it. Kind of like, come on, he wants to have a nice, just let him skip Christmas once, it's fine. But it kind of plays a bit like a horror movie sometimes. It's just like, but it's one of those films that we enjoy watching every year, even though we both admit it's not very good. But I think Tim Allen actually is doing some really good and funny bits in it that I think he's throwing in. Tim Allen adds a lot to it.
Yeah,
when he's on form, he can be good.
I think I watched it last year for the first time in a while. And it was because I don't know about you, but at Christmas I tend to watch the same films. Yeah. Unless there's something new out, I'll watch something new. But it'll be the same ones. It'll be, Miracle on 34th Street, Die Hard, Home Alone, Elf, and maybe another if it's on. But so I watched that different, and I didn't hate it. It was just good to watch something different.
Yeah, it's all right. It's a good background one when you're putting the tree up.
Yeah,
not one that you don't mind missing bits of. So we watched that, and then I watched, because it just came on Sky, Godzilla versus Kong.
Yeah, I saw that the other day. I'm going to build myself up to that.
Dear me, it is not a film. It is not a film. It is a special effect show reel. There's no story go. There's a whole bit where and again, there's a little bit of not a spoiler, but they go down into the Earth's core, essentially, where there's a whole other world or something like that. And there's just this whole sequence, and I'm sat there going, have I fallen asleep? Is this like one crazy dream and I'm not watching the film anymore? But no, it was weird. It just became like, I can't even explain what was going on. Yeah,
I mean, it's just, I like the idea of Godzilla, but I've never seen a film with Godzilla in that I liked.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's always a bit over the top, and I know that because I don't know if it's come from Japan or something, has it?
Yeah.
And it's a very different way of doing films a lot of the time. And King Kong I've always liked.
Hmm.
Do you know what I mean? I liked,
And they framed King Kong as the hero.
yeah, I like the black and white version, I like the Peter Jackson version. Kong Skull Island, I really liked.
Yeah, and this is kind of a sequel to the Skunk Island Kong.
Yeah.
But when they start fighting, especially towards the end, they're both so big that. But they put the cameras in positions. I mean, the fake cameras, because none of it's real, in positions no camera could ever get to. And so you're looking down on them. Well, they don't feel big anymore. They just look like two normal sized things in a fake. You don't get any sense of the scale or the what it must be like to be underneath that, and it just all gets a bit like it's a bit boring.
But is there any other characters, or is it just
no?
This giant ape walks along and sees a dinosaur and goes, "Oh."
No, there's a whole bunch of human stuff going on, and they kind of explain to you a little bit what's happening as it's happening, but they're just there basically to be background and explain vaguely what's going on. Oh, and there's a bad guy who makes again. No, I won't spoil it in case you watch it, but there's a bad guy who does something that both Kong and Godzilla have to team up to fight at the end. And but by that time, I just checked out. When you were a kid and if you'd had a King Kong toy and a Godzilla toy, it's the sort of plot you would have come up when you were 6 playing with them.
I came up with some good plots, I think, with my GI Joes.
I was really disappointed. I was looking forward to that. And then we watched again, new on Sky, 8-Bit Christmas.
Watched what?
8-Bit Christmas, it was called.
8-Bit Christmas.
It's Neil Patrick Harris.
All right, yeah.
Telling the story to his daughter of when he was a kid in the 80s.
That sounds good. The
Nintendo came out, the first Nintendo system, how he desperately wanted one for Christmas, and all the stuff he went through to try and get a Nintendo for Christmas. And I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, I like Neil Patrick Harris, even though he tends to play the same characters.
Yeah. I mean, he's more of a narrator in this. It kind of is framed a little bit like The Princess Bride in the sense that he's telling the story to someone who doesn't want to hear the story. And by the end, they're really into it. But it was playful. It was fun. And it got, to me, what it felt like to be a kid in the 80s. Sort of, it nailed that. It did.
Well, that's the attraction for me there when you were selling the plot. It was like, yeah, I'm interested because I have a lot of nostalgia about the 80s and 90s. So. Yeah. So I'd recommend that. It doesn't break any new territory, but I had a right good time. And I have to admit, I was in floods of tears at the end of it. Of course you were.
It definitely hits its landing, and it hits it well.
Oh, very good.
Yeah,
I'll make a note of that. And what's that on?
That's on Sky. It's just come on Sky Movies. And then last night we went to see Encanto, the new Disney cartoon about a magic house that gives the family in it magic powers. And you know what? It was fun.
Yeah, it looks kind of bonkers though, but well, it was the house, is it? I didn't know it was a house.
Well, it's a candle in the house that made the house, and the house. It's a whole thing. It's kind of one of those plots where you just don't think about that too much. But songs were fun, characters fun, animation was very good, very good. And it just zipped along nice and fast, and had a good time. It's one of those ones that's come out with not much advertising, I don't think, and it might just fly under the radar. But if you are looking for something that kids will enjoy at the cinema at the moment, you could do a lot worse.
Good stuff.
So
that's you, is it?
Sorry?
Is that you? Yeah.
That's me. That's me done. Yes, that's me done. The other ones that I watched, we're going to come back to on a future week.
Yeah, we'll do that next time. So I've only watched 2 films since we last met, purely because we've got a newborn in the house, so I haven't done a lot of anything really.
Yeah.
So the first one I watched was a rewatch. I'm kind of enjoying doing this. So as you know, over the last year or so, I've been going back to films, a lot of films that I liked when I was a kid, and rewatch and see what I think now. So I did Commando, RoboCop, all of them things. But there's also a lot of films that I think I watched on release, or I dismissed them because I wasn't interested, that I've started watching lately. So, like teen movies or rom-coms, there was a time in my life, believe it or not, where I thought I was too cool to watch them. So the other week I rewatched 10 Things I Hate About You, and absolutely loved it. So this week, and the same with, although it's not always from a long time ago, sometimes it's in recent years, and I thought, it's not really my film. And recently I watched Pitch Perfect and Pitch Perfect 2. But this week I watched Mean Girls. And I'm not even sure whether I watched it when it came out, but I know that it's got quite an iconic following.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But I was like, have I just dismissed it too early? Is it rubbish? Is it not my kind of film? So I give it a watch. And again, it's not groundbreaking, it's not earth-shattering, but it's good fun. There's a message in there somewhere, and it's a message we've heard a lot of times before, but it's not a bad message to share. There's some funny bits in it. Some good acting in it, because there's a lot of
good cast. Really good cast.
The cast have got done some good stuff, and in that. So I mean, I kind of enjoyed it. It was fun.
It's very well written as well. I think it's a really sharp script.
Yeah, it was predictable, but you've got the messages that you're going to get. I think Lindsay Lohan was really good in it. So yeah, I kind of enjoyed it for what it was. And there's a few more that I'm going to do similar things with. Like, I've never seen Bridesmaids, and then there's some others from back like in 2000s and late 90s, some teen movies and rom-coms that I've just not seen because I thought it was too cool. So I'll go back to that. But yeah, I didn't mind Mean Girls. I thought it was all right.
Yeah, I think it's a very good film. It's very well written. I think it was written by Tina Fey, who plays the teacher, and always been a good writer. But
I'm a big fan of her as an actor and also as a writer, because she did Kimmy Schmidt, didn't she?
Yeah. I love 30 Rock. 30 Rock's brilliant.
Yeah, and 30 Rock. So she's very talented, but so she was good in that. But I liked it. But there's other ones I want to go back and watch. She's the Man and a few others that I just dismissed at the time.
Some may be less worth the journey than others.
Yeah, I'm sure they are, but that's the same with all. But it's good to at least experience these things, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
And then yesterday, Kate and I watched, after debating whether I would watch it or not, but because I'd spoken about it and said I'd already dismissed it, I want to speak from a place of authority. We went in as we put the Christmas tree up, and then afterwards we watched Home Sweet Home Alone,
which is going to be our focus for a little bit now.
Yeah.
And we're going to dig into this one. So just to say, we are going to probably go into spoilers on this one.
Definitely going to go into spoilers.
Although, depending on how you feel about it, is there anything to be spoiled?
Yeah. And just to set the scene, so if you didn't listen a few weeks ago, I'm a big fan of Home Alone. It's probably my favourite Christmas film. Home Alone and Die Hard are the two that I watch every year. So I'm a big fan of Home Alone. Think it's really, really good. Can watch it without getting bored. So I was arguing the need for this film to be made at all. There's plenty of rubbish Christmas films, or Christmas films that are a bit dated that could be remade, but they wanted to get on this bandwagon. And I was quite angry about it. And then...
Just a little bit.
I wanted it to be rubbish because I want to be right and go, yeah, this is nonsense. Because I wasn't that offended by Home Alone 3, 4 and 5, is it?
Yeah,
because
so, yeah.
They weren't advertised. It just went straight to DVD. So you could just refuse to acknowledge them. But whenever you go on Disney, it's like, oh, Home Sweet Home Alone. But then you'd said to me, oh, I was pleasantly surprised. It's not as bad as you might think.
Yeah.
And then I saw the cast. There's some, there's
Ellie Kemper from Kimmy Schmidt's in there, isn't she?
Who is?
Ellie Kemper from Kimmy Schmidt.
And then the mum. Who's the mum? It's
Ailing
B.
That's it. Yes.
So she's in it. So I thought, well, she's quite funny. She's played some good roles. She's a good comedy actress.
Yeah.
And then Archie Yates is in it. So he's the lead. He's responsible for one of my favourite roles and performances in the last few years, is when he was Yorkie in Jojo Rabbit. So I thought,
brilliant.
Yeah. So I thought this is going to be. There's some redeeming features.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was wrong. Everything I worried about it just came to fruition, really. So do you want me to tell you what those things are?
You can, yeah. And then I'll tell you you tell me what you didn't like, and I'll tell you what I liked about it.
All right. So what I didn't like was there was nothing new. There was nothing new. It was the same.
No, I disagree.
All right. Well, you can disagree on it. It's the same format. The thing that made it really worse was, so in Home Alone, the thing I really like is that you've got the wet bandits that are trying to rob all these houses, and they're not very nice people.
Mm.
So when Kevin's torturing them, you're thinking they're getting what they deserve.
Yeah.
Like in this one, it's some kind of ambiguous people that are just trying to do right because they've got some situation going on and they want to be. So it's not so clear good and bad or who you're rooting for.
Oh, you see, I like that. I like that.
It's just a big misunderstanding. So when it gets smashed in the head, you're kind of thinking they don't really deserve that.
Yeah.
So what's good about that?
What I like is, first of all, the idea of putting you, especially as an adult watching it, on the side of the crooks. You know, I totally could see where they were coming from on it. I was kind of like, actually, the kid's annoying, and I kind of hope they succeed. That's new. That's a different way to do it. To actually put you in you feel sorry for them, and it's weird because during the whole build-up of it, you have this thing going on in your head, this sort of moral quandary. You're like, I know they're going to get hurt soon, but I kind of like them. Am I going to be okay with when they get hurt? Am I going to laugh when they get hurt? And yet I still did, and I felt guilty about it afterwards. Well, I quite like that it put me in that headspace.
But I don't think it did for me, because as much as I found him slightly annoying, I didn't like them enough. Do you know what I mean?
I kind of felt for them. They were going through a hard time.
Yeah, they were going through a hard time, but he was just a bit of a clown when he was talking to the kid, and I don't know, he was just... Yeah, I wasn't invested in them enough to care about them or to have that moral quandary. I was just like indifferent to him as a kid and indifferent to them as on the other side of it.
I was totally on their side.
I was on no one's side. I just thought, I just hope this is over soon. The snooker balls was kind of funny, or the pool balls. Buzz was in it, and it was some good. The best bits, I think, were the nods or the Easter eggs, the nods to the original.
And I like that because it wasn't pretending to be a remake. It was quite clearly a sequel.
Yeah, the best bit of the whole film, and if you haven't seen it yet, this will be a spoiler, is where they're watching a space sci-fi version of Angels with Dirty Faces. And it says, why do they keep remaking the classics? And that bit, it was like, you get it. But seriously, this is the question. The characters, his brother and his sister-in-law, annoying. Their little nephew, annoying.
Oh, no, they were annoying, yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
But I also like that it took you had Buzz in it. Buzz was no hero. He's just working, as a pretty low-life cop, essentially. Yeah. But why does he not respond when he gets the phone call? And I like the reason is every year, Kevin has called him while he's been a cop and pretended somebody's home alone. Yeah. And I like that.
That's good, because it's a continuation, the same as I like this property is protected by McAllister security systems.
Because, it makes sense. He would move into that sort of business.
So I like all that, but it's just there wasn't enough there. So the only bits I liked were the bits acknowledging how great the original was.
I mean, I'm only defending it a bit because I have to say I don't think it was great. But I liked that it at least did something different with the crooks. They weren't the typical, we're just the mean people, you're going to enjoy us getting hit. I liked that I felt guilty when he got a pool ball in the face.
No, I didn't. I want to be like, yes, get in.
It was just because that there's a misunderstanding going on. That, again, we've spoiled enough. They think he's got a toy that's worth a lot of money that he took from them. So they think he's a little thief, which it turns out he hasn't got. And he thinks they've come to kidnap him and sell him on the black market. And I quite like the fact that the whole time you're like, this is going to have to resolve itself in a different way. I like that.
Yeah, I would have chosen another way, mate. I would have found another way to have still got nasty people to do it.
Yeah. But yeah, I think the parts where they did get hurt were effective enough. I don't know about you. Did you not laugh when the and again, I felt laugh when they were in the swim pool and you thought they were, it starts closing in around them, and yeah.
I liked the darts bit. I thought that was all right.
I like that they broke into the wrong house to start with.
Yeah, that was a nice touch. There was a couple of bits where I chuckled.
Yeah, but that's it. I chuckled. That's it.
I didn't like the 1 year later bit. What?
No,
show that they're all friends. What?
The bits where it was trying to be like a good Christmas, like the beginning, 30, a couple of minutes in, I was thinking, oh no, this is going to be dreadful. It didn't work at all at the start, and I felt the end didn't work either.
Well, I thought the other way around. I thought at the beginning, this is instantly better than 3, 4, and 5.
Well, there is that.
But now I'm not sure. I'd file it alongside them. As soon as on IMDb, it's got 3.6, and I can see why.
Yeah. I'll not defend it too much. I liked that they did something different, that they didn't just go for the stock bad guys. Let's copy the Wet Bandits.
So by the end, I was thinking, I'll probably never watch this again.
No, and I don't think I will either. I don't think I will.
I mean, yeah, it was... My wife, Kate, her quote was, yeah, it wasn't very good.
That's fair.
So yeah, I was ultimately very disappointed. And my Facebook about it was quite mixed. Some people saying that they loved it, and not that I want to cause a riot or anything, but it was mainly females that said that they really enjoyed it. And most of the males on my timeline said, yeah, it was rubbish, absolutely awful. Ollie said, I can't believe you watched it. And I said I wanted to at least dislike it from a place of authority. And he said, no, I'm not going to watch it. I'm just going to dislike it from a place of superiority. So.
Yeah. I'm glad I gave it a go. I feel like I didn't have an awful time. I mean, it's, you want to have an awful time, watch Lockdown. But I got to the end of it, and it was like, yeah, it was enjoyable enough. But again, never going to watch it again.
No, I don't think so. I think I'll keep just sticking to the original two.
Yeah, it's not going to become part of my Christmas circus with films.
No, it's not going to be my rotation either. So then I'm going to watch, is it, something called Love Hard, is it? Or something that looks quite good. It's on Netflix, right, about a catfish. So this woman meets this guy online, kind of falls for him, and travels halfway across the country to meet him. Mm-hmm. It turns out he's not who he says he is, so there'll be some comedic effect there. Now, it might be dreadful, but it might be good. And then there's A Boy Called Christmas as well, which I'm going to watch.
Yeah, I've got that on my plan to watch. I've not got around to it yet. I recommend 8-Bit Christmas, though. That was...
Yeah, I've got that now.
Really,
and I've also not downloaded, put on the... started, where you click download on Sky.
Yeah.
Riders of Justice with Mads Mikkelsen.
Ah, right, okay.
So it looks like a bit like Nobody.
Right.
And he's out for retribution, but it's kind of quite, not comedy, but it's not entirely fully serious action thriller. But with Mads Mikkelsen, so it looks kind of good. So that's on Sky, but it might be terrible, but it looks all right.
I've been rewatching. We'll come back to this in a few weeks' time. I've been rewatching all the Terminator films to reassess what because I always know which are the top two. Now that order might change between those two sometimes, but I've never really worked out what I feel about the rest of them.
No,
and it turns out, well, we'll get to it. But dear me, there's some bad films in there.
But if you're listening to this and you've watched Home Sweet Home Alone, then genuinely we want to know what you think.
Yeah. Am I the only person who vaguely liked it out there?
No, there was a few on my Facebook. Am I just too precious about the original and think, no, this is absolutely fine as a standalone film? Or do you agree with me and think, no, there's no reason it should be made, and if they did or make something new in the Home Alone stable, it should be significantly better than this offering?
I mean, that's the thing. It was clearly made just for the money. Clearly. That's the only reason it exists. But the people making it didn't do it for that reason. The people who produce it and act in it and wrote it, they never did it. I believe they put a lot into it. And it came away with something. I think it justifies existing. Barely.
I'm not sure it does, especially when it has the theme music in there as well. So it wasn't,
and it shouldn't have done that. I agree. That's because all that did was remind me of a better film.
Yeah, it's like you're not worthy of this theme.
Yeah, it's like you don't deserve to play this music. If they'd gone all new, again, it might have sat a bit different. It's not constantly reminding you of. But I like the kid. The kid wasn't Kevin. You know, he was different enough.
Yeah, I mean, he was British.
Yeah, he was a bit irritating at times, but
he did use the line, didn't he? I can't remember. He used a couple of lines. Are you thirsty for more? He used that line.
Yeah.
And then the kid at the end slapped his cheeks, and so it was just like, it was just a money thing, isn't it, from Disney?
It is. But I think at least they put some effort into, because I don't think there was any effort to 3, 4, and 5.
I don't know. I'll have to have a look, but I'll do it at the end of the year. I'll rank the films I've seen this year, but it will be close to the bottom, I think.
Yes, that'd be good. Actually, should we, towards the end of the year, should we try and do a top 10?
Yeah, top 10 films we've watched this year.
Or top 20 each, or something like that.
I think Home Sweet Home Alone will rank under Playing with Fire.
Now, is that films that have come out this year or we've seen this year?
We've seen this year.
Okay.
We can do both.
Yeah.
But as I say, Archie Yates, I was disappointed. Maybe he did a good performance because I really found him irritating. But after his performance in Jojo Rabbit, I was thinking he's going to really make this film. But
it's not on the same level as Jojo Rabbit's performance at all.
No. So
anyway.
Yeah, that's it. What I've been watching. That's all I've got to say on that, really.
Well, we'll be back next week, and but please let us know what you thought of Home Alone. No,
Home Sweet Home Alone.
Home Sweet Home Alone, and as well, if anybody out there liked Locked Down, I'd be very curious to know what you liked about it, because I can't find anything redemptive about that film.
And if anybody wants, over the next couple of weeks, wants to come on and talk about films, Christmas films, or films you've been watching lately, then let us know. Particularly Christmas films. We've got some good guests lined up for the new year that we're excited about having, with some great topics that we're looking at discussing. So yeah, and then please follow us on social media, on Twitter and on Facebook, and interact with us, and we'll look forward to seeing you there.
Yeah. And we'll see you again soon.
Thanks very much.